Yeah, eat, sleep, fantasy, you rockin' with the best. NFL Fantasy Football Podcast. We talking mock drafts, running backs, better follow the conversation with
John,
Dale, Christian, and Armando. Screaming Eat Nation, we doing what we like. Tune in every week, guarantee we get it hype. Fantasy football enthusiasts, I know you plan to be joining us on Eat, Sleep, Fantasy. Yeah, Eat, Sleep, Fantasy. Eat, Sleep, Fantasy.
welcome to Eat, Sleep, Fantasy. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Eat, Sleep, Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Dale. Thanks for joining us. We are live. We're still trying to figure this out, but the good news is you can see me, kind of blurry, and John, kind of fat. And what more would you want out of two podcasters talking fantasy football? So, John, what's up, buddy?
Oh, not much, man. We are the Bigfoot disease of fantasy football, if you will. The big problem with Bigfoot is not that he's so scary. It's just that he's actually blurry, just like Dell.
I am blurry. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. You could still see the big bald spots on here on my chin. I don't know why hair doesn't grow there. But anyways,
I think you look great, Dell. I'm going to be honest with you, man.
Thanks, man. So the streaming stuff isn't perfect, but we are on Periscope and we are live on YouTube Live. I think we should be. I don't know. If you're listening to us, who knows, John? Who knows what we're doing here? But
we're having fun. If people are listening and watching now, just want to say thanks for being part of this. But yeah, we're trying to step up our game over here at Eat Sleep Fantasy. We are going to continue bringing you top-notch content all the time. Maybe not top-notch intros. Maybe we won't start them all with oops.
You know it's going to be a good show when the first word out of my mouth is like,
But we've got some fun stuff for you today. We're kind of going to do how would you say this? Like a start/sit hybrid episode on people that you need to be targeting and people you need to stay away from. We'll go through a couple different position groups, but this is going to be a fun episode. So really excited. Glad that you guys are here with us. We got some good stuff.
Yep. And apparently on Periscope, it says week 4. If you're listening to us, this is not the week 4 waiver wire episode. So, what is this? Week 6, right?
That is correct.
Week 6 it starts. Let me just write that here on, yeah, just so people are clear.
My favorite part about this is you are getting a behind-the-scene, like, actual thing of what happens when we usually record. We just cut all this. This is, this is what happens. So just want to say welcome to week 6, not week 4. And we've got a lot of good stuff for you today. So, again, Dale, get your shit together and let's roll.
Let's do it. Okay, so a couple things, guys. Like John said, start. Don't forget, go over to our website, eatsleepfantasy.com. It is a website, for those that don't know. We have a iOS app that gets live updated episodes as they publish, and you can chat with us per episode. You go in there. It's a fun little app. Download it. Give us a rating if you like it. Let us know what you'd like to see in the future if you are playing around with it, what you think would be suitable for a fantasy football podcast application. We will be rolling out Android sooner or later, as soon as we figure everything out. We're kind of going a million different directions at once, but the good news is we are growing. But we're just, we're like, I don't know, good analogy, but we're kind of growing all at once. So, so there you go. So anyways, John, we are talking sits and starts today. The bad thing about doing video is I'm very distracted because I have all this editing stuff up and I see like your face 5 times on my screen and I don't know how to minimize
You're
any
welcome,
of these.
by the way.
I don't know how to. Seriously, you're on 3 screens and I don't know how to minimize any of it.
The world needs more Chapman. That's all I'm saying.
I do have a special treat though. I have a very special treat, and this is gonna be a quick episode, so we're gonna kind of get through the good fantasy football stuff. Midway, I'm going to give you guys a voicemail that was submitted to the Eat Sleep Fantasy hotline. And I will give that number out if you guys actually let me give that number out now just in case if anybody wants to.
Do you know the number, Dale?
I don't know it by heart, but I'm looking it up right now. ESF. It's nope, I do not know it.
Jesus.
So whatever. Fuck it.
This is the best start of a podcast we have ever had, and it's live, and I'm so happy right now.
It's about the energy.
I'm so happy.
It's about the energy. Okay.
It's about the energy. So, let's jump into it. I'm going to jump in for Dell here. Okay. And kind of here's the goal. We're not going to be talking about the top tier guys. Like if you have Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, those types of guys, you're starting them. It's what it is. We're kind of looking in between the running back 2, 3, 4, 5, those type of deep spots that who should you start? Like who are these guys that should I have them on my bench or should I get them in there? And one of my plays I want to talk about this week, and this is an easy one. I feel kind of like cheap for choosing this one. Chris Thompson, running back for the Washington Redskins. I don't care who the quarterback is there. I don't care anything. They are playing Miami this week. And this is the battle for the first overall pick. You have the two worst teams in the NFL. I don't think there's much doubt. Washington's already fired their head coach this week, but they don't know who their quarterback's going to be. It doesn't matter because their quarterback is going against Miami. So get all of your Washington Redskins into your lineups. I am in a big money league, and because of the bye weeks that are taking place, I'm even going to play Paul Richardson in a league. Is that crazy?
That is not crazy, and I'm glad you brought this up because it is worth noting. Are you crazy enough to go Adrian Peterson even?
Yes. Yeah, I have them ranked pretty much back to back. I have Adrian Peterson. He's around 26, and Chris Thompson around 28. I haven't finalized my rankings, but Chris Thompson's definitely safer. Adrian Peterson, would you be shocked if he goes off for 2 touchdowns?
Well, that's what I'm saying. This is first of all, and we could talk about this in a second. No, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes 2 touchdowns. Is he going to get the 130 yards that most running backs get out of Miami? Probably not. But they're going to have the opportunity to score on both sides of the ball, I think. This is going to be the highest scoring game for the Dolphins offensively.
The over-under in Vegas is 41 points.
That's crazy. Yeah, I really like the Redskins here. The Redskins running backs, at least. Paul Richardson is a little crazy. I calling him a sit as a flex worthy.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly. If you're so here's the deal. Let's focus on Chris Thompson just because that's who we started with. Sure. These are people I feel comfortable starting Chris Thompson over in week 6. Royce Freeman, Kenyon Drake. I'm not sure. I'm not going to go that far. LaShawn McCoy, Duke Johnson, Peyton Barber, Miles Sanders.
Tevin Coleman?
No. Tevin Coleman led the 49ers in rush attempts. He looked really, really good coming off that injury. Now, that's the number one. The 49ers are averaging 200 rush yards per game.
Even right without, now. What's the deal with Juszczyk?
So Juszczyk, he is out 4 to 6 weeks, and so is Mike McGlinchey, their right tackle. So now they're without their left tackle, right tackle, and fullback. But here's the deal. The people that they've put in, Daniel Brunskill on the right side, AAF hero from that short league, and then even Justin School on the left side, they're both great run blockers. Now, they're not as good as Staley or McGlinchey, but the running game's not going to be affected near as much as the passing game will be. So they're going to run. They're leading the NFL in rush attempts, so the volume's going to be there.
Good deal. All right. Sounds good. Okay, so talk about the other side of the ball then, since we start off in this game, and it is kind of juicy, offensively, definitely not defensively. But Kenyon Drake, Washington is porous as well against the run. I mean, one of the worst in the league here. So, are you taking a stab at Kenyon Drake, say, over guys like Jordan Howard against Minnesota and Ronald Jones against Carolina?
It's rough. Because, Kenyon Drake, he's getting a little bit of work. Now, they are coming off of a bye, but the last time we saw him in week 4, he did get 9 rushing attempts and 3 receptions. Now, the Washington defense is not near as bad as the Miami defense. So I'm going to stay away from him. Okay. Now, I don't mind if you're in a tough situation. Obviously, you can play him. But I have him way further below both of the Washington running backs.
Okay. My start of the week, and of course, when we're talking about citizen starts, guys, we're not talking about, David Johnson and Nick, and Zeke Elliott, and we're not talking about those guys. We're talking about like fringe RB2, RB3 type guys that you're going to have this discussion with. So my running back that we're going to talk about is Joe Mixon. He's playing Baltimore. On paper, Baltimore seems like a pretty decent defense, but really they've given up a lot of yards to running backs. And this is a pretty good matchup for Joe Mixon here if Cincinnati can keep the ball and hold on to it and don't get blown out early. Joe Mixon, I think, is a good play as an RB2.
Yeah, and you're looking at somebody that's had 2 good weeks and 3 awful weeks, right?
Right.
And so, like, what is it that we're going to do with this guy? You've got to play him this week just because of the matchup. Baltimore's defense is not what everybody thought it was. So whatever you had in mind with Baltimore long term, this really tough defense, they signed Earl Thomas. No, they literally lost every linebacker on their team. They're not a very good football team. They got off to the super hot start because they played 3 of the worst teams in the NFL, but it's going to keep getting bad. Now, they are playing Cincinnati, Baltimore, both bad teams, so this could turn into a little bit of a shootout because there's bad defenses on both sides. So, you have to start Joe Mixon, and that's the thing. If you got Joe Mixon, you took him in the first or second round. You're not going to be able to bench that guy yet. So if Joe Mixon has a great game here, package that guy and sell him as soon as that game ends, because it's going to be a rough year for all of Cincinnati's players.
Yep. I mean, Joe Mixon is going to be the guy that he's going to play good with good matchups, and he's not going to be very good with the iffy ones. So those are my running back. Those are our running backs there. Guys that I would start Joe Mixon over that, maybe you wouldn't think about. I'd probably start him over. Is it crazy to start him over Austin Eckler this week?
Yes.
That's kind of borderline. But guys, Damian Williams, I would start him over Damian Williams this week. I would consider starting him over James White, even though James White's playing against the Giants. Just because of the matchup, I like Joe Mixon a little bit better. You disagree with all those?
Yeah, it's close. It makes sense. I'm not a believer in that team. The only reason why anybody's fantasy relevant on that team is trash. They're scoring touchdowns the last 4 minutes of the game, right, which counts. We saw this with Blake Bortles and the Jaguars a few years ago. It still counts, and they're going to air it out. We'll see what happens. My favorite play on that team is Tyler Boyd. I love me some Tyler Boyd.
Yep.
But anyway.
All right.
Let's jump over to a new position. Let's go to the wide receiver. One of my favorite players, one just because I'm really biased, Courtland Sutton was very, very high on before the NFL draft. Last year, his rookie year wasn't the best, but he has come out just firing. He's had at least 7 targets in every single game for the Denver Broncos, and I think that he is a must-start from here on out. He has a difficult matchup in Week 6 against the Tennessee Titans, who surrender. They're in the top 10 as far as fewest points allowed to the wide receiver position. But I'm telling you this right now. Go get Courtland Sutton wherever you can, and if you have him, he is a must-start. If you are only starting 2 wide receivers in your league, he needs to be one of them. I love this guy going forward, and I really do believe he's a steal right now. Try to get Courtland Sutton wherever you can.
Okay. I like Courtland Sutton as well. Actually, I'm in a Guillotine League with some ESF listeners. If you guys don't know what that is, 18-team league that basically eliminates one player in their entire roster every week, and it gets cut down every week. It's really fun stuff. So anyways, every week you have awesome stuff on the waiver wire. But I have Courtland Sutton, and because there's so many teams now, I think we're down to 12 teams now. But I have Courtland Sutton, and I'm excited to play him this week. A couple other guys that you may be on the fringe playing. I'm still believing Juju Smith-Schuster, regardless of the quarterback situation.
Regardless, huh? Now I will say this: Mason Rudolph did practice. He was cleared for practice today. He's not fully released from the concussion protocol with contact and stuff, but there's no way they can play him this week, right?
I wouldn't think so. I mean, and again, it's all optics, right? Like, what we saw and how hard he got hit. Immediately we thought he's gone next week. But hey, I mean, if his brain is still functioning like it was before the game, why not? He wants to.
Yeah.
Michael Gallup is an interesting play this week, playing against the Giants.
Gallup looked good, man. He looked really good coming back.
And I know you mentioned Paul Richardson, but of course Terry McLaurin. if you have any doubts, I think he's going to be a solid wide receiver.
If he plays, right? So if he's out there, you've got to play him. He should be okay. And another player that I really like is Christian Kirk. If he does play, again, you've got to pay attention to this just because he didn't play last week, but they were hoping that he would be ready to go. And they're going against the Atlanta Falcons. Now, here's another thing that you have to take into context. Every single time you're filling your lineup. Who the hell are they playing? If anybody is playing against a few different teams, you start them, okay? Miami, Atlanta, Tampa Bay, Cincinnati.
Yep.
Those 4 are your defenses. We're 5 weeks into this.
We know.
So
now we know.
Trends have been set, and we have validation that these teams suck at defense. So those are the big 4 that we are taking advantage of throughout the entire year. Atlanta, Tampa Bay, Miami, Cincinnati, and in no particular order. If you see that matchup, play them.
Yep.
Get them in there.
Yeah, I agree. All right, cool. My last question is, there's actually 2 questions here. 2 players, 1 question. How about that? That should be a new segment. 2 players, 1 question. 2 players, Stephon Diggs and OBJ. Both are in the column of the fuck that guy routine that we do every week, but Odell Beckham and Stephon Diggs both fuck that guy. Stephon Diggs has a great matchup against Philadelphia, at least for wide receivers he does. Philadelphia is a decent defense, and they played really well yet last week. But what are you doing with these 2? Odell Beckham, you're going to have to write him out, right? You're going to have to start him and
yeah,
play
you got to. The one thing that you've got to say is this, okay? They're getting the ball to him. If you looked at the 49ers game, which they got completely shut out, the first off, they win the toss, the Browns do, and they chose to receive the ball, which was suspect at best. Whatever, that's fine. Very first play, they run a reverse pass with Odell Beckham. Mm-hmm. Second play of the game, and a screen to Odell Beckham. On that same drive, they run an out route to Odell Beckham. They are purposefully trying to find a way to get the ball to Odell Beckham, and the volume's going to be there. The talent is there. Baker Mayfield, while I do believe he is an absolute trash quarterback, has a great arm. He just is a one-read quarterback with no pass protection. So until they fix the pass protection, Baker can't be Baker. But they didn't address it, so it's going to be a rough year. Odell Beckham's going against Seattle, which is a tough matchup. Now, you talked about Stephon Diggs. He has an amazing matchup, right? So Stephon Diggs is going against Philadelphia, which their secondary is just it's not good at all. They give up the second most passing yards to the wide receiver in the NFL. So you love to play people against Philadelphia that are in the secondary. You don't want to play running backs against them. Now, Dalvin Cook, you play against anybody who's matchup proof. But I would prefer to start Stephon Diggs this week than Odell Beckham. Now, even though Diggs is all the stuff that's been going on, he is still a fantasy viable wide receiver. And yeah, it's frustrating, but he's a wide receiver 3 this week. I don't mind that. Maybe a wide receiver 2 even against Philadelphia.
Okay. All right. One last guy. I won't really go into him. I know you mentioned Tampa Bay. That obviously means DJ Moore. I'm not so excited about Curtis Samuel as I was early, or I guess late preseason, but DJ Moore, I think is a pretty good play this week as a flex opportunity.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm very low on DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel just from players and the scheme and all that stuff. But again, they got Tampa Bay this week, so fire them both up. No problem with either one of them. I would start DJ Moore over Jarvis Landry. I'd start DJ Moore over Marvin Jones. I'd start him over Emmanuel Sanders. I'd start him over.
I am.
Yeah, I probably would this week.
Even though Metcalf's against Cleveland, I think I'd still go more just because of the juicy defense.
And you don't know. You've got to wait and see. Cleveland's been playing without their top 2 cornerbacks, so they almost played this week, Greedy Williams and Ward, and so I think one of them will be back, if not both of them.
Sure. Okay. All right. Let's before we move on to we're going to do some tight ends and quarterbacks. We're halfway through. I do want to play this voicemail, and I would like to play it with Christian around, but he is not. So I hope that he's listening, and I don't know. Hold on, let me put this on speakerphone because There you go. All right, just 1 second. And John, I want your reaction.
All right, I haven't heard this.
This message is for Christian. I really don't appreciate you saying all those things about my wife. I really don't appreciate it. And now I got people that listen to the podcast, and they're calling me and telling me that you're bashing my wife all the time about that, your mama. I really don't appreciate it. I wish you would stop it. Thank you.
What the hell was that?
That was my dad calling in to tell Christian to stop talking about my mom.
Whoa.
So, Christian, that was...
Did you... Hold on.
That was a call to the hotline.
Hold on. Did you ask your father to do that?
No.
Your dad actually said, hey, let me call into the hotline?
Mm-hmm.
His idea.
His idea.
So your dad listens to the podcast?
Apparently.
I don't think he does.
He has, I know for sure. He has in the past because he's mentioned stuff off and on.
Well, out of respect, I have made many a Debbie a comment in the past. I will try my hardest.
He's gonna.
Oh, so many jokes right there. Oh, already. Gosh, so hard, Debbie.
Oh God! Don't say that.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's hard not to.
No,
is what I'm saying.
You said it was so hard, Debbie.
It is hard not to make comments. What are you talking? Like, come on, Dale. Like, I'm behaving here. I'm just saying it's very difficult. Another way for difficult is hard.
You can use
not.
Try not to use the word hard when you talk about my mom. Okay.
What words are simple? Oh, I love you, Debbie. I will be kind to you on the air.
Anyways, I thought that was a good voicemail. Let's talk about some tight ends.
Yeah, speaking of, thanks, Debbie. Nice segue.
I'll get into that one.
You can't do that. You can't do that. Probably one of the biggest surprises, not really a surprise. We told you all offseason to go get this guy, Austin Hooper.
Yep.
Oh, man, he is... There's really not a difference. The tier for the elite tight end has expanded. Okay. Obviously Kelsey, Kittle, Ertz. But now I think that you have to add in Evan Ingram, Mark Andrews, and Austin Hooper. I think that's where we're at. Mm-hmm. Those are the tight ends that just, no matter what, they're matchup proof. But if you look at Austin Hooper this week against the Arizona Cardinals, who give up the most fantasy points to the tight end, goodness. I'm going to have Hooper in a lot of DFS this week.
Yep. Yeah, I like it a lot. Will Dissly has a good matchup.
Yeah.
I don't mind starting Will Dissly if you have him.
How could you not start that guy? Yeah. I had him in one league where I had Kittle and Dissly. I just got Dissly off the waiver wire. I ended up trading Dissly, Wayne Gallman, and like a first rounder for DeAndre Hopkins in a dynasty league. Like you just gotta capitalize on that because this guy's averaging almost a touchdown a game from the tight end position. So
yeah,
you got to play him.
Yep. Let's see. Will Dissly. Last few games, 7 targets, 8 targets, and 4 targets last week. For me, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but if I'm talking about tight ends, I'm really looking at the target share and how much they're actually getting the volume. Just like how you would do running backs and inside the 20. I look a lot like targets and make sure that at least they're getting the volume to produce.
Yeah. If you want to be absolutely crazy, you could go with the Jeremy Sprinkle play, staying with the Washington versus Miami. First thing you got to do is make sure that Davis is out again. But if Sprinkle is the starting tight end against the Miami Dolphins, not a bad play, and he's probably available in every league.
Okay. Say, hypothetically, I'm asking for a friend. I have O.J. Howard. Or no, I'm asking for a friend. So my friend has O.J. Howard, and he's hitting the waiver wire. He's just given up on O.J. Howard. He said, fuck that guy. Where's he looking at on the waiver wire? Say the top 14 tight ends are gone.
Okay.
What's a 15 through 24 tight end that I could say, hey, I could start this guy and might be okay? I have one guy in mind, but you tell me who.
Okay, so you're going to be streaming. Okay, excuse me, I'm about to die. you're going to be streaming week to week, and it's going to change. If Noah Fant's available, I'm jumping on him. Jordan Atkins, who probably isn't available because he had that 2-touchdown game. If these are all options that are out there, Chris Herndon would be a guy I would say, but he pulled his hamstring. So he just got through his suspension, and then his hamstring tightened up on him. He might be out for a while still. But those are some guys I'm looking at.
Yep. I was going to mention Noah Fant. I think that's a good kind of shot in the dark if you're really looking for somebody. Ricky Seals-Jones might not be horrible if he's still out there.
True.
Again, we're talking about shots in the dark. I mean, if you're streaming tight ends and you're really in this league in particular, I have O.J. Howard, and it's like there's nothing out there, and it's like I'm really digging deep, and I think I picked up Noah Fant, but it's hard. It's really bad out there.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I like it. This is kind of what you got to do. You've got to play the matchups, try to predict volume, focus on over-unders that Vegas puts out. That's always going to help you out considerably. So that's where you're going to find that.
Sure. Gerald Everett against your 49ers this week. Any shot that he scores?
Yeah, there's a shot, but I mean nobody's scoring against the 49ers right now. So obviously the Rams offense is legit, but the tight end position has had zero success against the 49ers. So we'll have to see what happens there. But
you're an easy guy to like until you start talking about the 49ers, and it's like,
right?
Oh man, I hate you so much, and especially that they're winning so much. And you're like,
I mean, they're just 4-0.
Nobody's scoring against the Niners.
Well, that's the thing. So you have to look at it. I used to tell everybody to start whatever running back was playing the 49ers. You had to start them for 3 years because they allowed the most rushing touchdowns, I think in the past decade, 2 years ago.
Did you say the most Russian touchdowns?
Rushing touchdowns,
like by Russian players.
I'm about to rush over to your house. I just said I wasn't going to talk about your mom, and now you're going to.
You said Russian running backs, Russian players. I don't even know any Russian NFL players.
Guess where I'm going to be rushing to?
Go.
You want me to go rush to your mom's house?
Yeah, keep talking. Go.
Anyway, take that for what you will. But yeah, you've got to play those matchups. And the 49ers, their defense is legit. Their offense might not be without those 3 key starters, but that defense is for real.
Yeah. There is a guy named Igor Olashansky. He played for the Cowboys and the Dolphins, and he was drafted by the Chargers actually in 2004. That is the last Russian NFL player that I can find. So if you're looking for Russian players against the 49ers, Igor I don't think is playing anymore, but he was a good Russian player that John is talking about here.
All right.
All right, let's talk about quarterbacks, and let's give the folks what they need.
The folks what they need. All right. So quarterback position's interesting this week because we've got 4 teams that are out on bye. Now, there's some guys that are just 100% matchup proof, and you start every week. Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Russell Westbrook, Matt Ryan. Those guys are your must-starts, fantasy-wise. Now, after that, there are some plays this week that you can get by with that are wonderful, and they're probably available on your waiver wire. Guys like Kyle Allen. Guys like Case Keenum that just have these wonderful matchups, and they're going to generate points, and they're free. Case Keenum should not be owned in any one quarterback league. If you're in a super flex, then that's another thing. But it seems like he is going to be the guy to get the start. Mm-hmm. Any of those two, again, they're absolutely free. If you want to get real freaky naughty, what's that from Dodgeball? Yeah, that's Dodgeball. Josh Rosen. You start him against Washington. That's another option. So lots of – if you're rostering 2 or 3 quarterbacks in a 1 QB league, you're dumb because there's so much stuff that's out there. There's so much stuff that's out there. And you don't want to start people like Jameis Winston, who I love for fantasy purposes, playing against Carolina. Carolina has been stout against the pass. And with Jameis Winston and the pressure that Carolina has been putting on, he's going to have a lot of sacks and a lot of interceptions. So that's one of those plays. Maybe you start him every single week, that's fine, but you know Jameis Winston's going to have a 5 or a 10-point game or even a negative point game at some point this season. This is starting to look like that might be one of those games.
Yep. And I know we keep talking about the stupid Carolina-Tampa Bay game, but there is a lot of fantasy implications here. And Kyle Allen is not a bad streamer here. If you're looking, maybe you've already picked him up, but good matchup obviously with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and again, you want to focus on games, and I do want to just take a second to talk about Nitrogen Sports for a second, because if you head over to, this is my fourth podcast today, by the way, so I'm a little tired. But if you head over to Nitrogen Sports, go to eatsleepfantasy.com, click on the banner, and my bet that I absolutely love this week is the over-under play of the Falcons versus the Cardinals, and here's why. Two of the worst defenses in the NFL. Two of the most pass-happy offenses in the NFL, which means the clock is going to stop. The game is going to be prolonged. We talked about last week on the podcast the Cardinals versus the Bengals to take the over, and it looked like they weren't going to cover it because they were like 1 for 8 in the red zone combined, and then they scored 20 points in the last 2 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
So if you bet that with us, you made some money, so congratulations. This is the over bet that I'm taking. It's 51 points right now for the Falcons and the Cardinals. And again, terrible defenses, pass-happy offenses, recipe for success. I am playing the over in this game. So over on Nitrogen Sports, yeah, join me. Make some money with me.
Yep, go to the site, eatsleepfantasy.com, click on the banner for Nitrogen Sports. I am going to have Kyler Murray and Matt Ryan in my top 5 this week. It may be crazy, may be bold, I don't know, but I have them both in the top 5. So if that means anything to you guys for their pass catchers and just both offenses in total. So Kyler Murray is actually probably my start of the week. I love Kyler Murray. If you have options and you have Kyler Murray, I'd go Kyler Murray almost every time.
It's just the rushing. That's the thing that people don't understand.
It's a 8 to 10 point bonus. I mean, or 7. I would say 7 to 10 point bonus every single week.
Yep.
I mean that's awesome. I mean that's an extra touchdown. In some leagues, touchdown and a half. So for sure,
I like it.
All right. Well, John, we did a quick start. If you guys have any questions about the rankings, you can always go to our site. They're going to be published. We do like the first big publish on Thursday afternoons, around noon or so. That's when we really throw everything out all at once. So when you guys are listening to this, if you could just go to the website, click rankings. If you don't have an account, sign up. It's free. If you do, you get right into the rankings section, and you can see mine and John's along with Christian's and Armando's and some of our contributors, including Clayton and JJ, I think. So make sure you guys check that out. Also, good luck week 6. Hit us up on social media. Let us know what you want, what you need, and we'll help you out. Good, John?
Yeah.
For John Chapman, my name is Dale. Thanks for listening, and we will talk to you guys later.
Yeah. Eat, sleep, fantasy. You rockin' with the best. NFL Fantasy Football Podcast. We talking mock drafts, running backs. Better follow the conversation with
John,
Dale, Christian, and Armando. Screaming Eat Nation. We doing what we like. Tune in every week. Guaranteed we get it hype. Fantasy football enthusiasts. I know you plan to be joining us on Eat, Sleep, Fantasy. Yeah. Eat, Sleep, Fantasy. Eat, Sleep, Fantasy.